Greetings, warriors. Welcome back to the Fit2Fire Warrior channel. I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in all this time and for watching this video. Hey, stay tuned for this one. Watch till the end. We're going to show you something really exciting. How can you increase speed while maintaining or even increasing accuracy while at the range? So make sure you stay and watch till the end. All right, let's get started. So one of the things that we do is we teach internal rhythm and tempo. I started teaching this, I don't know, 18 something years ago. And a lot of famous instructors that I looked up to were telling me, hey, Chris, keep it simple. That's too much. People aren't retaining this. They're not understanding your basic folks or your newer police officers I was training at the time. And in reality, or in retrospect, that was wrong. Like, they were able to do it. I feel what we were doing wrong for the beginners or newer folks or the average civilian was our training days were just too long. If you've been a cop for 10, 12, 15 years, military, like, you can do those long multi-day, 8, 10-hour training days, and you can still absorb knowledge because you have such a huge foundation and a base to build off of. Your average person can't. So now I teach 3 to 4 hour courses, and I pack it full of as much progress and happiness as I possibly can. I tell everybody that those are the two important things, right? You have to enjoy yourself, and you have to progress as much as possible. But I also want you to retain the information. When you come out to work with me again, I want to see that we can pick up roughly where we left off. So having said that, I've been teaching internal rhythm and I've been teaching tempo to have people gain speed and gain confidence in the weapon while still maintaining good effect on target, meaning accuracy. So let's talk about how we do it and what are the things that we do to measure it. And I did take a client out to the range and discuss all that with him and saw some great progress. And I'll insert some of that video while we're talking here so you can have a better understanding. It's really difficult to just articulate verbally what we're talking about. But first of all, how do we measure our progress? Great, you can see the target. We're only doing 5 to 10 yards because we're just looking for progress. We're not doing anything wazoo like 7, 10, 12, 15, 18, 25 yards. We just want to see what the progress is and work on the basic fundamentals and manipulations to build a great foundation or basis from. So how do we measure that data? We need something quantifiable. I've been using shot timers for a lot of years. A lot of guys do. Some people use them in a good way. Some people use them in a negative way, and we used to tease ourselves and make fun of the guy that was slow and things like that. But I don't like to introduce shot timers to beginners right off the bat, or even people that haven't shot for a while, because it's another nuance that makes them nervous, right? It's something that tracks their performance. And everybody has performance anxiety in front of people that they respect or intimidated by, or hold a deep regard for, like an instructor that they deem a good instructor. So I don't like to do that and stress them out, but I do want to get them fairly proficient and then start measuring their progress. So if you know what a shot timer is, then you can skip ahead, that's fine. Our show is more geared toward the average person or somebody that wants to learn everything without being embarrassed about not knowing certain aspects. So there's several shot timers out there, range from like, $60, there's knockoffs, there's real ones, all the way up to, 300 something bucks. I started breaking them and losing them and throwing them in my Pelican box to and from the range. So I've been buying, $80 to $100 ones. So this one works really, really good. How does it work? When we go to start, and you can adjust the offset or the delay, when you push the button, it's going to count down. I have it set for, I think, 3 seconds right now. And then there'll be a loud audible beep. That's for the shooter to start shooting. It records from that beep to when their first shot breaks. It actually detects it right here, kind of the percussion or the blast of the weapon. So it tells them, hey, you were 2.3 seconds from when this buzzer went off to where your shot broke, and then you can see what your effect on target was. So it's kind of interesting. More importantly, what I like about it is it measures the data on progress, and not just speed out of holster or speed on your first shot, but your subsequent rounds, what we call follow-up rounds, your second, third, fourth, fifth round. We've talked about this in another podcast or another YouTube. And what it does is tells us what our splits are. Our splits are the amount of time that occurred in between each round. Obviously, if they are faster, and they're faster overall, first through third or first through sixth rounds, how many you're firing, you are progressing in terms of speed. We want to progress you that way, but we also want to increase your accuracy and keep you hitting the target where you need to be hitting the target. So this is a great tool to measure it with, and those splits will come into play here shortly. So, all right, what am I talking about when I talk about your basic rhythm? Everybody's lung capacity is different. Everybody's breath is different. Some people breathe in a lot deeper than others. Some people breathe in shallow. The rise and fall of the chest is different for everybody, I always say, and the rise and the fall has manipulation, has influence on the weapon system, right? So everybody's different. Everybody I've ever trained, personal training-wise, different. Diet's different. So humans are different. What you need to do is get used to your timing, your rhythm. So what is my timing? What is my rhythm? That's what we're going to find out on the range, and what's going to help you guys find out. That's the first step. So the first step is watching someone shoot, and the amount of time where they breathe, they do all the shooting fundamentals, right? Proper stance, proper grip, sight alignment, sight picture, trigger squeeze, etc. Once they do all that, and they breathe while sweeping that trigger with a nice, clean, smooth tempo, right? So that it doesn't yank or change the trajectory of the bullet. Once they do all that, the speed in which they do that ends up being their rhythm. But here's something that will fix some problems right off the bat, and I make sure that we take care of this before we move on. There is a phenomenon that occurs with every person, whether you're shooting a bow, you're aiming with your thumb, you're shooting a weapon, whatever it may be, where our eyes will take and our brain will get involved, and it'll start doing figure eights. Okay, and you're watching your front sight, in this case on a pistol, and your front sight's doing a little bit of this. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but it's doing this to an extent. Well, people inherently want to fire that weapon when they want to shoot the gun, when it's in the middle. They want to go, go, go. See what I mean? Instead of just holding it as steady as you can and smoothly pulling the trigger and let the gun go off when it wants to go off. The key is to ride that, not fight that. What I mean by that? When that thing's doing the figure eight and I'm just pulling smoothly, smoothly, smoothly on the trigger and that hammer drops and the shot breaks, it will hit the middle. Why? How? Can I explain that? I always tell my clients, because it's funny, that it's magic, because I'm not a scientist, I don't know, but I do know this. You need to have faith that it will do that if all your shooting fundamentals are good and your trigger press is good and you keep the best sight alignment, sight picture that you can, i.e. have that red dot, have that front sight focused exactly where you want it as much as you can. Once the trigger breaks cleanly, it's going to hit that spot. So in terms of faith, it was explained to me like this. My boss for a couple of years, really, really solid, good dude, he is an atheist. And he said, Chris, well, what makes you believe in the Bible? Can you prove to me the Bible is real? I says, you know what, I can't. I'm not that versed in it. I have taken courses where it's been explained to me. And at the end of the day, I choose to believe. I choose to have faith. And that's simply my prerogative and my opinion. And he respected that. The same as with firearms, with what we're talking about. You need to just have faith when you come out and shoot me, or when you go out and shoot and test this theory out, like I had my client do, that if you keep it as steady as possible and you pull that trigger clean, it's going to hit the middle. So you don't want to pull the trigger, yank and make it go off. Pull the trigger, yank and make it go off. That is very, very, very common. One of the most common mistakes I see people do. So if you can work on your trigger control, and hit us in the comments if you want some drills to work on your trigger presses, I can certainly send those out to you and tell you what I do with my clients to help them get a cleaner, better trigger pull and cleaner break. Once you've got a good trigger press with your client, we can move forward. Now when we move forward, I just want to get them, when they're pulling that trigger clean to the rear and it goes off, to go off when the gun wants it to go off. You're pulling, 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 and you're going to find out where that particular weapon system breaks, i.e. when does a shot leave the barrel, right? When does it ignite the gunpowder and throw the projectile through the barrel, i.e. fire the weapon? Myself, I breathe out as I'm pulling the trigger. It's about 2/3, half to 2/3 through my breath is when my trigger goes off. This gun's very light. I know this gun goes off a little sooner, but average, my rifles, some of my other pistols, it's about half to 2/3. I have twin boys. They should be identical. They're not. One likes to hold his breath a little bit, and he can maintain control and accuracy, and he's pretty fast. It works for him. I don't mess with that, and he's gotten better since he's changed to that. My other son is almost all air out, and he does extremely well. He's very, very accurate, especially with the rifle. So we're all different. You need to find your rhythm. Find where your breath, where the rise and fall of your chest settles down, that breath is at its smoothest, when your trigger press is at its cleanest, when it breaks and the gun fires. If you try to make the gun fire and fight it, you're going to be inaccurate. It's going to create inconsistencies in the accuracy of your target. So I always say, write it, don't fight it. Find out what that rhythm is, that relationship between you and your breathing and your trigger press and the gun, and it's how long its trigger travel is, etc. You'll feel it, you'll find it, and you'll be in tune with the gun. When I find I'm fighting the gun, or I'm not in tune, or I try to fire a little quicker than my breath is ready and my body's not settled, I immediately see inaccuracies. So that's one of the things that I do to diagnose and to self-diagnose to fix that problem if I'm at the range. So now, how do we find your rhythm? It's kind of like being a personal trainer or being a poker player. People have tells. I know I'm training somebody and they're doing a bench press and they're fatiguing or they need a spot. I can tell with everybody's a little bit different. I can watch a shooter and say, hey, your rhythm currently should look like boom, boom, boom. And I just want them to keep with that rhythm. Even if they don't have the perfect side alignment, side picture, that's okay. I want them to start firing that rhythm, no matter where it hits target at first. They're going to take a step backward to move forward. And I tell them, I promise, just have faith. There's that word again, and it will work itself out. So we do that a little bit until they get that rhythm set. Now they're not fighting the gun, they're riding that trigger press, they're riding that breath control in relation to the weapon system. So once they have that mastered, we start to speed up. What do we do differently? Nothing. We keep the same rhythm, we simply increase tempo, which is what? We just turn up the speed. So now that shooter goes from boom, boom, boom to boom, boom, boom. That's how we're increasing speed, but we're riding the gun. We're using our same internal rhythm that works for us in that weapon system, right, to get the best effect on target, i.e. maintain accuracy or increase it. So what do we do next? I said I don't like using these at first on beginning shooters, but once we master the trigger press, once we master our rhythm, or at least get our rhythm down to we're comfortable and that we're getting consistent with our shots. They may not be perfect yet, but now we're consistent. I'm going to introduce the shot timer. The shot timer is going to give us the data necessary, and it's going to give the shooter the data necessary so that that person knows that faith is rewarded. It's being proved by data, something quantifiable, right? And you can show them, hey, this is how fast you were. And in between your splits we talked about, the time in between rounds, that should become more and more consistent. 0.30, 0.31, 0.30, 0.32, like really consistent, because it tells you it's rhythmatic. If you're not rhythmatic, I will see inconsistencies. If you're rhythmatic, I will typically see better increased accuracy. And guess what we're doing? Now we're tuning it up, now we're increasing tempo, and they're getting faster. So, way too accurate, way too good. 4-1-7-2-6-2-5-0, like. Once we do that, just to give you an idea of timing, not everybody has seen these and know what timing should be. On a really good day, I'm 0.17, which is under a quarter of a second in between my rounds. I'm probably high 0.8, so I'm definitely under a second. If I get over a second, I'm a little slow that day. I need some work and I need to polish it up and get it back down there. On an average day, I'm 0.8, 0.9, 0.20, right in there. If I hover in there, my rhythm is on, my speed is good, and I maintain my accuracy. So this particular shooter started off in the 2-second mark and in between each round. Then we turned it up. And by the end of the day, we had him not only half a second in between rounds and 1.35, 1.5 initial round. We had him sub 1 second initial round. That's either from low ready or from holster. And we had him at 0.29 splits in between each round. That's just above a quarter second in between each round. Do the math. That's 4 rounds in under a second and maintaining perfect accuracy. So it works. And I'll hopefully show you some of the range time. I'll put it on here and show you some of that reality. So what do we do next? How do we build upon that? How do we create muscle memory? And how do we get the reps in efficiently and correctly so that that person can definitively say, wow, I got a lot faster and look at my target. And I love to see that their face light up and feel that empowered and feel that confident. So what we do is a drill that I learned from a couple of buddies of mine that were from the SEAL teams. I had done it a little bit differently years back, but it was nice to have it reintroduced in a different manner. I really enjoyed it, so shout out to those guys. You know who you are. What you do is a 50, 80, 110, and I'll explain it. What I did is I incorporated that drill with rhythm and tempo and kind of made it my own. What I want you to do, and I tell the shooter, I'm going to tell you, is I want you to shoot 3, 4, 5 rounds, 6 rounds, multiple rounds, more than 2. On target, 5, 7, 10 yards is fine. You're measuring progress, not accuracy or distance. And I want you to fire at 50% of your rhythm or your capabilities or what you think that is. So for this particular client, I basically told him, this is your rhythm. This is about where your 50% is. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, I just wanted him to get that rhythm and fire it and use the shot timer and give him the data and tell him where he's at. He did extremely well, way too accurate. I said, okay, we need to turn it up. I want you to shoot 80% of what you think your potential is. And I told him it should sound something or look something like this. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, we've turned up the tempo. See what I'm saying? The rhythm is the same. He's not fighting it. I can watch and tell him that works for his internal rhythm. He can do that speed and he can stay accurate. I know this. But we're just increasing the tempo of the speed. He did extremely well. I think that's where he clocked 0.35 splits and 1 1/4 out of holster or from low ready. Just really, really good job. Oh, beautiful.
There you go.
I'll tell you right now, clean. Splits are probably going to be close to perfect, and all your rounds went through that hole in the middle, right? Pretty close to it. 8-0, 4-6, 4-2, 4-2. Pretty close to perfect. And I said, now, here's the key. I want you to go at 110% of your potential, meaning I need a little sloppiness. I need an errant round or two. I need it to look a little ugly because I want to find your limitations. So I told him, I think you'll see it in the video if I post it. I told him something like mag dump it. Pull the trigger as fast as you can because everybody thinks they're pulling it really fast and oftentimes they're not. Or oftentimes they can go faster than they believe they can. There's that faith again. So he did it and I made fun of him because it was way too slow and he was way too accurate, which are good things, but we know that he's got more potential already. And this is 2.5, 3 hours into the day. So he then fires and he gets about a 110. He's got a round or two that's definitely out of where he's been hitting, for the past hour. And I said, okay, that's about 110. You actually could go a little faster, but that's pretty good. 2.9, 2.9. Okay.
There were 2 2.9s? Okay, cool.
Why do you think they're accurate? What's your answer? Why do you think those two were accurate?
Because the force is with me.
Because they were consistent, right? Because your rhythm was there.
I mean, honestly, that is a little bit of what your philosophy is filtering into this after the fundamentals and everything is you kind of got to feel the force a little bit.
That is like there's some stuff's not explainable, right?
Yeah.
This stuff is data, it's explainable, it's quantitative, right? Now I want you to dial it back. I want you to dial it back to what you think your 80 to 90% is, because you've shot 80, you've shot 110. And once we find that 80 to 90%, we call that your combat speed. That is what you should expect to shoot pretty fast and pretty accurate on a good day. And that's the main maintenance that you need to do. That's the expectation you should have of yourself, and you should maintain or even work on increasing your accuracy and speed from there. But that's a good start. It also tells you, because I don't teach basic pistol, I teach defensive pistol. I teach courses to save people's lives, and I don't do the uber basic stuff on the range. I usually skip all that and do it in the classroom. So having said that, I want him to know that cold bore, meaning before we even shoot anything out of this gun, we're nervous, we haven't touched it, we're not used to the bang, it's early in the morning, we haven't had our coffee. That's how you're going to perform, right? Because it's going to happen when you least expect it. If you ever have to use one of these, you might be just waking up out of bed and wiping the eye boogers out of your eyes, and you've got a intruder in the house. And I've certainly been a police officer and responded to those calls before. It happens. For all these people in the comments say the stuff rarely and almost never happens, there's no data to support it. Yes, there is. I've been there and I've seen it. So, having said that, I also want him to realize, or her, that that's not going to be your speed in battle. And I'll tell you why. Once you hit that shot of adrenaline and you get that brain fog, what we call the fog of war, then he's not going to perform as well. You're going to perform at your least amount of training, not your best training. So, like I said, my off days are, 2.0, 2.1, 2.2. That's probably where I'm going to be on any given day, even though I've gotten faster and I average faster, if that makes any sense. Stress and adrenaline will do that to you. So I need you to be over prepared, right? I need you to be able to shoot it here, so if you ever need it, you'll at least be shooting here. Because during stressful situations, we lose fine motor skills, and we have training left over, which is what? Your muscle memory. And that's what you're doing. So at any rate, that's how we test it. That's how we quantify the progress. Hopefully, some of the things in the video you'll hear me talk about sound redundant as to what I'm saying here, but you'll get the idea. It will make sense when I'm explaining it to a live human being on the range. So how do you monitor yourself? How do you administer this yourself? Because certainly not everybody's out here in Texas and can go to the range with me. Take the video with you, set it up on a tripod, listen to the video, pause it, and do the drill I'm asking you to do. Look for what I'm asking you to look for. Do what I'm asking you to do. Try to figure out where your rhythm is and try to work with that rhythm and increase tempo as you go. If you can get your hands on a shot timer, I highly recommend it. I would actually buy a shot timer before I'd buy a suppressor or before I'd buy a lot of things. It's invaluable. So use a shot timer to see if you're progressing and which way you're going, and take a look at what your accuracy it is and what actually do you expect out of it. I think you're going to be extremely surprised at how well you can do, even with just the video walkthroughs. You can also have somebody else hold the video and tell you what to do, like some kind of RSO or range master, or a friend that you trust to call out the phases of fire, course of fire, and what's expected. You will find that it'll make a lot of sense. It's a lot easier if I can adjust every single round and tell you what you did wrong and add in a couple other things, because there are some stuff you're going to do along the way. You're going to yank the trigger a couple of times. We'll do a couple of drills, get you out of it, and put you back on course. There's things like that. So if you have questions about it, or if you try this at the range, put in a comment, talk to us, ask us questions, tell us how you did. I would love to see if it worked for you. I would really, really love to see that, because obviously if I'm there training people, I've seen it work time and time and time again. So I want to see what your experiences are with it. Now, true disclaimer on our program and Fit2Fire, what our intentions are and who we are and who we're talking to. We're certainly not gun gurus. I'm not a gunsmith. I can't build one of these. There's a lot of custom work I can't do that I have to send them out for. There's people that know more about ballistics than me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Our intentions are this: your average person that is too intimidated to come up to a person like me or hire somebody like me to teach them really doesn't get very much out of YouTube these days, because everybody wants to talk to the operator, the wannabe operator, or the that person that's a gun guru, tactics guru. That's fine. Let them do that. I want to talk to the people that want to learn how to shoot a weapon, actually are getting into guns, starting to enjoy it, or they're getting back into it, or they want to buy something new and they're not sure. All we're trying to do is give you some wisdom along the way to save time and money and effort and mistakes that we've all made already. I want to shorten and speed up the learning curve for y'all, so that you don't waste time and money and effort, frankly. So that's our intentions. Our intentions are not to be egotistical or show you how cool we are. That's why I don't intend to show a lot of video of me shooting, because it's not the point. And I don't brag about my gear. I don't have that much gear. It's probably every bit I own is on that wall. I'm not your typical gun tuber. So, but what I do know is I know how to use these things. I know how to teach other people, and I've been doing this quite a long time, so I just hope that I can help. Now, we're building a tribe or a community. If you have input, if you have experience, instead of using it to knock us and other people down, why don't you get in the comments and educate and help give information and be a positive influence on this community that we're building. This is a tribe of warriors, or people that have the warrior mentality or want to be warriors or be prepared in life, and just general knowledge, right? So you're either with us or against us, I kind of say. So anything we can do to help you out, we're more than happy to. I really appreciate you guys watching. Please stay with us as the channel grows. It's like a baby right now, but we're doing better with equipment, with sound, with video. We're trying to improve every bit we can. I'm learning how to edit. That's why the video is not that great. Hopefully it'll get better and better and better. But we do appreciate you, and thanks for tuning in. Y'all take care.